This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 462, Book of the Month Club Encore, Fables, Volume 2 and 3. Welcome to Comic Geek Speak. I'm Brian Deemer.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Brian Chrisman.
I'm Jamie D.
And this episode of Comic Geek Speak is sponsored by Ape Entertainment. In this month's previews, it's Femme Noir, The Dark City Diaries, number 3, by Christopher Mills and Joe Staton. The beautiful blonde scourge of the Port Nocturne underworld has a formidable new foe to reckon with when an altruistic scientist's invention for peace is corrupted in the killer known as the Robot Mobster. Full color with covers by Staton and Phil Hester, Femme Noir is a 4-issue series from Ape Entertainment. For more info on Ape and previews, check out apecomics.com or comicspace.com/Ape Entertainment. And for anyone who hasn't seen Femme Noir, that is a really beautiful book. The first issue was wonderful. I think people should definitely check that out. The artwork just is awesome.
Cool.
Previously on Comic Geek Speak.
This book goes on the premise that all the fables are real. Every fable you've ever read, Snow White, the three bears, three little pigs, are all real, and they lived in an alternate realm or alternate reality. Hundreds of years ago, an adversary came and basically started wiping them out, and they have escaped to our reality.
I was going to say it kind of reminds me of JSA. Just consistently good artwork.
Yeah.
Your kind of standard comic book artwork.
And I loved that they made Prince Charming out to be this womanizing jerk kind of guy.
I kind of like how a few times they mentioned that they gave everybody a clean slate when they came into the real world, and you can't talk about things that happened before. I thought that was pretty interesting.
And don't mention the dwarves.
Stick figure models or anything like that. They're drawn well.
They look like normal women.
It is appealing. So I share your cocksmanship.
No, you may not.
Say, wait a second.
Just don't cross swords.
Matt's listening to this, and he's having a field day in his head.
I'm so glad he's not here.
All right, so this episode, Book of the Month Encore. If you don't know what Book of the Month Encore is, maybe you don't even know what Book of the Month is, and every month we select a trade paperback to read and analyze and discuss. And then some of those were so compelling that we needed to go back and continue reading, so then we launched the Encore series of episodes. And way back when we did Fables, was it maybe like our
fourth one?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is going way, way back. And ever since that episode, I continued reading Fables, and I'm just about caught up. And so this episode, we're going to talk about volumes 2 and 3.
Yes, it's Animal Farm and Storybook Love. Is that correct?
That is correct. Real briefly, Volume 1 featured, we got introduced to the world of Fables, there was a murder mystery, and
There's spoilers.
some things happened, and then it ended, and now we're on to Volume 2.
That's sure, yeah.
Listen, if you want to know more, listen to our first episode.
Exactly.
It's all on the episodes page. You can find it.
And I always wanted to get into Fables, and when I think it wasn't even on the show at that point when you did the Fables episode, but I was going back and listening to them, and that's what got me into Fables. I think 2 years ago at Pittsburgh, I picked up the trade, and at that point, the rest of the issues for almost $1 a piece at Pittsburgh. So, and I've been getting it in regular issues since then, so I actually have the actual issues for these two trades.
I've been buying every trade at every Wild Pig sale, and I'm up to volume 7. But now I've only read 2 and 3 to get done before this, so I'm behind on reading, but I'm still getting because I just.
So you haven't read past volume 3?
Nope.
Well, then I'll try not to spoil.
This is an excuse to do that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm all caught up on trades. So
The newest one just came out last week.
Oh, good. That means my next shipment.
The Good Prince?
Good Prince just came out last week, yep.
That's awesome, because when a new volume of Fables come out, that trumps all other reading. I stop, if I'm in the middle of something, I just put that trade down. It waits until I'm finished with Fables, and then I hand it immediately to Tasha, and she reads it, because, in my opinion, Fables is the best book being published monthly.
Well, and even though now I've read 3, well, at least reading the first 2, I read this at work at lunchtime for volume 2 and 3. I still have to be careful because there's things that are on the page that when I flip it, I'm like, oh, I can't have the boss walking by seeing a booby here or something. So it still surprised me. Even though I've read it and I know it's there, I still forget and read it anyway.
I went back and actually reread Volume 1 before I read 2 and 3 again, and I had either just not known or forgotten that Mark...
You really don't have much time, do you?
That Mark Buckingham did not do any of the first trade. He just started with issue 6.
Mm-hmm. And that's when it just gets so
There you
good.
go. I knew it's a favorite of yours.
He is a favorite of mine, absolutely.
Well, anybody who listens to the show knows exactly where I stand on Fables. I mean, they actually did Fables, the first one, because I had kept harping on how good Fables was, and so to shut me up and either to prove me wrong or to just see what was going on, they chose Fables. And even at that time, I had said, because we had said, well, the first one wasn't that strong, and even going back and rereading it isn't that strong as far as storyline goes. It's great to introduce all the characters, all the fables that you know of. I mean, for anybody who doesn't know, fables are basically, there was a land at one time where these fables lived. They all lived happily until...
The homelands, right?
Yeah, they call it the homelands, until the adversary came. And the adversary created an army, chased out all the fables, and the fables have been living... they could come into our world through gates, and the fables have been living in our world for hundreds of years, for centuries. And since they've been
in Manhattan,
we're in a little place called Fabletown. They have a little section of the city, and
well, those of course are the human ones.
The humanoid or ones that could afford enough to have glamours to make them look human, such as Beauty and the Beast live in, and the Beast has a glamour to make him look normal. There are trolls who are servants and stuff like that, and when they go out, they have glamours on to make them look normal. And the first one, like we said, was a murder mystery. Rose Red supposedly was murdered, who is, if anybody knows their fables, knows that Rose Red was Snow White's sister. And Snow White is basically the head of Fabletown, with her right-hand man / wolf, Big B, or Big Bad Wolf, as the sheriff. There are, you meet Prince Charming in the first one. You have Bluebeard, a whole bunch of other different, but at the end of the murder mystery, Rose Red actually wasn't dead. She was just doing this to get back at her sister, and we are going into what we call Animal Farm now, where Snow White and Rose are going to Upper New York, where they have an animal farm where all of the non-human fables live, such as the 3 bears, the 3 little pigs. Any animal that didn't, again, like I said, didn't have the money or the wherewithal to get a glamour to go down to New York is shipped up and kept at the farm. And that's where this story... And as soon as I read this story, I mean, I love the first one, but when they started this, first of all, Animal Farm is one of my favorite George Orwell, my favorite novels, short stories that I've ever read in my life. If you've never read Animal Farm, get out there and get the George Orwell story of Animal Farm and read it. But as soon as I saw what the name was, I was like, oh, I know I'm going to love this. And I definitely wasn't disappointed once I started reading this. And rereading it just brought back so many memories. It was great to reread it. And at the time, I told everybody, even though the first one was slow, wait till you read Animal Farm. It's going to kick into high gear, and you are not going to want to put this book down.
See, I didn't think the first volume was slow at all. Like, I think everybody keeps talking, and I think people are going to be afraid to read it. Like, I got to suffer through that thing to get to the good stuff. What? But I don't think that way at all. I think the first volume was awesome, which is what compelled me to read more. I didn't think it was slow. I plowed right through it. I thought it was wonderful. And I think for me, the reason I never picked up Fables on the shelf, despite the fact that I love most things Vertigo, is A, the name, Fables, sounds like sissy girly stuff. And 2, I still don't think that the James Jean covers sell the book.
No,
I don't think
they're beautiful, but they don't.
Yeah, they give you this impression of something else than what Fables is. And Fables is a mature, interesting world filled with politics and intrigue and sex and all those things that make for good adult material. And yet you would never get that by looking at those covers. And so I think that I was very put off by the covers and the title. And I think that the only reason that this book is still around is because it's so damn good that everybody tells all their friends about it. And that's kind of why we're here, is to tell you that if you still aren't reading Fables, you really, really, really must go out and buy it.
I'd have to agree with you. I'm not fond of the covers myself at all. They I mean, once you read it, they do have something to do with the story, but they just don't look inviting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good artwork.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think it's evocative of what's inside, and that is the problem. I don't know.
And I can't figure out why I didn't get on it from the beginning, because reading the single issues that I have, there was ads in there for Why the Last Man, and I was reading why. I think, again, for first trade in issue 6, I was getting the issues at that point as they came out, and Fables wasn't even on my radar, so shame on me for that. But I'm caught up now, and thank you for Jamie for getting that started.
You can
or
say
blame
hounding,
him for that.
hounding.
Hounding?
Yeah. It's worth it.
Read Fables, read Fables.
So, let's see. I want to avoid the incredibly boring, dry synopsis of these two things, because I find that painful to listen to. So, let's just talk about it. Let's assume that they've read it and they understand what happened, and we'll just talk about it.
Sure.
Where do we even start? I mean, like you said, Pants, the first thing you notice about this is the artwork, and it's Mark Buckingham, and I think it's just beautiful. And in this, I don't even know where to start. I just love it. I don't even want to talk about it. I just want to say, tell everybody, go buy it.
For me, when I read these, I kind of think back to when I saw a musical of all things called Into the Woods, where this brilliant person, and I forget his name at this point, I should have gotten that before, he intertwines all these fairy tales into a story. And that's what I get out of this.
It was Stephen Sondheim did the,
Thank you.
Did the book and the music.
Absolutely love how they intertwine all these fables to mean something and to have relations and stories, and they've been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. One thing I don't remember, though, is that the Mundies, the human race, regular people, have to believe in them to keep them alive. Is that correct?
They don't have to believe in them to keep them alive, but the more that you do believe in them, the more popular they are, the harder they are to kill.
Okay.
Because that's why when Snow White gets her head blown off, and you're like, well, how is she gonna? They explain, since she is more popular and was immortalized in Disney films and all that kind of stuff, because they even make mention of that they love her, so she is hard to kill. She is basically indestructible, whereas Rose Red, who people forget, she has to worry. And then you even get that towards the end of the volume 3, when Goldilocks is, she takes a gun ripped apart by Bigby, an axe to the head, run over by a truck, and I still don't think she's dead. Although, it's just she falls into the water, and I'm still not convinced she's dead. Yeah. It's just one of those that
you didn't find the body. You're not sure.
So that's it. That just is, I guess, their way of. I won't say cheating, but you got to that point in the storyline, and I was like, even reading it, I was like, how are they going to get her out of this? Her head was blown off. Yeah. And I was like, that was gutsy, Bill. Good Lord, Snow White within the first 10 issues, and she's dead. But I thought that's a very interesting way to do it, and it also, gives you a storyline that you can run with, that you can, maybe Bluebeard isn't quite as popular as Snow White, so things can happen to him where they can't happen to Snow White.
And I was really, and I just laugh out loud moment is when you're reading Goldilocks is introduced, and it's like, what do you think the only reason is? How she goes, I'm talking about she's sleeping with
with baby
a little
bear.
bear. And it's like, do you think I share your son's bed only because it happens to be just right? He goes, no, it's because Papa's little boo bear is hung like a. So it's like,
and there's a certain amount of realism that is just astounding when you read it. You just don't think in those terms. But,
no, but
all right, that kind of makes sense.
Well, and that's kind of the what is I find very compelling about this series is that, first of all, you're reminded on almost every page of all these fables that you've forgotten. In every issue, it seems like there's at least one new one, and you're like, oh, that's a major fairy tale or whatever. I totally forgot about that. So his cast of characters just, it seems limitless at this point, because we're 60 or 70 issues into it, and it's still not running out of ideas. So that's awesome concept to start with. And these issues, of course, introduce all these animals, the 3 pigs and all that stuff, and they're like a bunch of women who are cackling and stuff. Right? I mean, I'm not misspeaking, right? Maybe I am.
The 3 pigs are. You're saying
are they all men? No.
Yeah, they're all guys.
Oh shit! I don't know. I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
No, but
who's in here? One of the characters are like a bunch of yentas talking or whatever. Some of the
See, now I took that as the pigs all conspiring. They're just cackling and complaining about everything else, and they want to go back and take over Fable homelands.
Yeah, and that's also where you get the comparison between this Animal Farm and the George Orwell Animal Farm, where the pigs are the ones that are in charge.
Right. But anyway, what the hell was I saying?
You're talking about the different characters and
yeah, and then and just playing around with them in a clever way like that. Like again, being mature about it. I'm saying, like, adults can have a sense of humor about this. We're long past Goldilocks and the Three Bears, so how can we make Goldilocks and the Three Bears interesting? And that's certainly a way to do it. And it's just so many moments like that in this whole series. That
the old woman in the shoe have all her kids are getting armed.
Yeah, kids with the guns. Yeah,
and they don't age. Like, the kids don't grow up; they're still the kids in the shoe.
Yeah, the aging process just doesn't really go on. They go on with their lives, but they remain basically the same age. A couple of things I had forgotten, and just talk about scenes in this that break me up. When they were all chasing Snow White, and they were all, all the Fables were out there and armed, and just a little picture of Baby Bear with a gun, just like walking, made me laugh. And then you see like the hut of Baba Yaga go walking by, and I was like, oh, that's right, I forgot about that was in there. And like you said, Brian, just where he pulls from so many different fairy tales, not just American or English fairy tales, but Russian fairy tales and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, we get to the animals, and there's Bagheera and Shere Khan. It's like, yeah, that's right,
from the Kipling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it seemed like, again, it's limitless. And of course, there's the fox.
And there's even a hierarchy to the animal kingdom there too, where like the tiger is like looking down on the Black Panther, saying, "No, yes, they haven't been here, I haven't found them, but I do not need your help. Go away, peasant, go away."
Well, yeah, Shere Khan is just, he's the royal bad guy. I mean, he's just, even in the Disney version, Shere Khan was a bad guy, with Bagheera being more of a friend, since Bagheera had befriended Mowgli and Baloo and all of those characters. But yeah, there is a pecking order. There's bad guys or good guys. That's the beauty of it. There's just even up there, they're because I think don't you see the crocodile from like Peter Pan, and just trying to think some of the others. I mean, you see all the birds that you think of. Cock Robin gets killed, and that's a a sign. The fact that there's one of the cool things, one of my oh shit moments when I was reading this, was when Snow White gets up to the top of that mountain and she sees the Valley of the Sleeping Giants.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, now that is cool.
Never would I have suspected that.
And on top of that, you have a big dragon that's laying there with them. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean,
but now that's where I show, like, I don't know that I ever heard of the Valley of the Sleeping Giants. So I was just like, oh, there's some big guys there.
Well, no, I mean, I honestly, I don't know exactly what, but so to have giants, the fact that
sure,
you have giants in fairy
giants,
tales.
Right.
And they found a way to hide them so that they're there, but they have to keep them asleep, otherwise even they would be noticed.
Mm-hmm. And then to me, to use them in getting her, waking them up and using them to get control of the animal farm. I mean, this whole second book was just from beginning to end. There just wasn't a slow issue. There just wasn't, I was enthralled, and then rereading it, it just, brought all of that back.
I'm trying to think. I want to see who the chicken is that wanted to, or the bird that wanted to rat him out right away when Snow and Rose got up there. I couldn't.
I guess you got Chicken Littles also thrown in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
Just so many.
Oh, it's countless. I mean, is that the winged monkeys from The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, definitely.
It just astounds me how much I have forgotten about Fables in general. And the way the animal farm looks, that's just gorgeous. The way it's all set up. The artwork is certainly not lacking at all. Out of order. Son of a gun. Now, who's the knight? The knight that's prophesizing. I know they explained a little bit, but I don't know that I've ever heard of him before.
Yeah, it's like the forlorn knight. I will say wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because it does come into play later on very big.
Okay.
But yeah, he's just kind of there, and he talks, and you don't really know who he is, but like I said...
Don't get him drunk.
Yep.
There's so many snippets of characters. It's outrageous.
And then we do learn what happens if you break the laws. They chop your head off.
Oh, I love that. It's so cut and dry. Yeah. Here it is. Here's your sentence. Done. Go.
Yep, next.
But then you were thinking, well, what about the three pigs? And then and then he actually winds up keeping the three pigs. The Mundies aren't going to know they aren't the original three pigs, because the three sleeping giants, they realize they can't put them back to sleep again, and they would eat themselves out of house and home in one day if they stayed up at the farm. They turn them into the three pigs, so they are going to live their lives as the three pigs. They won't have to go back to sleep, which I thought was a really cool way of taking care of the fact that all three pigs kind of got dead.
Yeah, there it is. Is that Chicken Little that's freaking out saying, I didn't do it, I wasn't part of it, they made me do it?
I was thinking
that's why I
was thinking the sky is falling,
yeah.
and he was like freaking out.
Okay. All the treasure that they have, all the... God, there's just hundreds of years of this. There's even backstories that probably have never even been touched yet.
Now, Waylon Smith, was that the farmer from the Orwell Animal Farm? Does anybody know? I can't.
I was hoping you would know. Actually,
I'm not sure about that.
I couldn't. I was trying to remember that.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've read that. I can't remember if it was they used Smith or Jones. I can't remember. But then to have him as building all the arms to take over the homeland, because that was really all they really wanted to do. They just wanted to go back to the homeland if they weren't going to be allowed to go and live in society, and to build stuff like a gun that sits on top of a tortoise shell. Just even to come up with those concepts. Now I don't know how much Buckingham had leeway in helping William come up with this. I don't know if Bill William had done all the designs and he just told Buckingham what he needed, but still I just thought that some of that stuff was just brilliant and just a lot of fun.
I love
to see
when Snow gets captured there in the cave. They chain her up, and who's the one trapped with her? The one that was in charge of the animal farm.
It's Waylon Smith.
Waylon Smith. Okay, he is trying to help her, but he can't say it, and it goes on for panels of her trying different things, and finally, she figures out to use her key to get him out, and then he's like, "Boy, it took you long enough,
daft woman."
Just absolutely hilarious part. I like how Big B's not allowed on the farm.
Well, of course, he's
Obvious
the big
reasons.
bad wolf,
Right? He tormented half of those animals.
Yeah.
And again, it's such a great, I never would have even thought about that.
Yep. While they're all still refugees, they still stay apart for certain reasons.
Now, you have the second trade. I'm sorry,
Third.
the third trade.
Yeah.
And now, does that have all the single issues as well? How does it? Because I think it covers what 11 to 18 for the actual issues. So because again, I have the actual issues.
What question are you asking?
Well, there's a couple of like done in ones, and there's like
the Linda Medley story is in there, and I think
is the Jack of Fables story.
That's the first one.
Oh, so it goes okay.
Because it reprints everything.
Okay.
But that Jack of Fables story was freaky.
That
yes.
was.
Wow.
And I have to say, drawn very nicely.
It was what Brian Talbot drew that one.
Yes, Brian Talbot.
Yes, who is an excellent artist.
Yeah, that was a very interesting story.
Yeah, Jack of Fables ends up with a magic bag. You say a couple words and everything gets sucked into the bag. And he sucks death into the bag. Just to, get some. And then, of course, nothing dies. So they try to kill the chicken to have, food. And the poor chicken is literally running around with its head cut off.
I love that page where she comes to tell Jack, look what's happening. You just see sprawled, half cut up things that should be dead animals.
That was
a little freaky.
Again, something I never expected out of the story.
But a neat little story, again, showing how long the Fables have been there, because it was basically a story about the South at the end of the Civil War. Jack was basically, I guess, fighting for the South, and when he realized that the war was just about over, he decided, okay, I'm out of here. I don't care, I'm not dying.
Conned himself into it, conned himself out of it.
And went and found this woman who was dying, who was just waiting for death, and like we said, he had been in a poker game with old Scratch, and won Scratch's bag that you could put anything in, and like Pants said, to get a little sum, he delayed death at the door by putting him in the bag, and just that old, I won't say an old chestnut, but the old story where there is no death. Where death isn't able to do his job, nothing dies, and he learns the consequences, and he eventually lets death out, and the woman eventually dies. He stays with her for like a week or something.
After she leaves him.
Yeah, she like stays with him for a week, and then she leaves him and has had enough. But just a neat done in one, like we said, story that was, it really gave you like a breather from the end of Animal Farm to the beginning of this storybook Love. Which is basically a chase caper with Bigby and Snow White on the lam from the machinations of the Bluebeard.
Yep. Now, is that two-parter with the reporter also in the trade?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Which is another cool.
Oh yes,
that was
where they use Sleeping Beauty in such a way. As soon as they used it, I was like, that is so effing cool. For Sleeping Beauty, for those who don't know the fairy tale, it's. She pricks her finger. She's prophesized. The three good fairies come, and the one bad fairy comes and says she's going to die. She's going to prick her finger. She's going to die. Well, the good fairies tell her, well, that's not going to happen. She'll just go into sleep till she's kissed by true love. Blah blah blah. So now we find out anytime Sleeping Beauty pricks her finger, she will fall asleep, and when she does, briars and all that grow around wherever she is.
And everybody around.
And everybody around her falls asleep. So the storyline is, this Mundy finds out about the Fables, but he thinks they're all vampires.
It's vampires.
Which is so funny.
Absolutely loved it.
So for their way to get back at him, they find out where he lives and all of that. So they take Snow, they put her in the...
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty, I keep saying Snow.
That's okay.
Sleeping Beauty, put her in the hotel. She pricks her finger, and the hotel basically goes to sleep. Everybody, including the guy who we want to get, who's falling asleep on the toilet, which, again, is a very funny thing.
That's a great image when you open your first page of the splash. Oh, guys on the crapper.
On the toilet. So the story is they eventually get to him. They tell him, they get him, to realize, they can't... They blackmail him.
Yeah, a little bit of blackmail with Pinocchio.
They blackmail with Pinocchio, who's still a kid, who's actually in his child form. He's not in the Pinocchio form. He's in the child form. He won't grow up. and they get him, all kinds of child porno type pictures.
Bite his neck to make him seem like he got bit by a vampire.
And they bite his neck so he looks like he got bit by a vampire. So anyway, that all happens. But the cool part is then once Snow falls asleep and they come in, then she has
Sleeping Beauty.
She has to be kissed by a prince. And they thought they had Prince Charming, but it didn't work because he sold his princehood, and then tried to buy it back in the first volume, and didn't. And they realized it wasn't just a princehood; it had to be somebody who truly loved her, and it wound up being Flycatcher, who everybody. And then Flycatcher did love her, and then he kissed Sleeping Beauty, and she wakes up to a taste of flies in her mouth.
I love when is it Bigby that asked her how they woke her up
at
the department store. I never even thought about that when I read that part, and they're just trying to cover up the fact that it fell asleep.
A very affectionate dog.
Licked her face and woke her up. I nearly died.
Named Prince.
And the dog was named Prince. Yes.
I mean,
tricky.
Yeah, a little bit convenient, but that was funny with the dog.
And then, of course, Bluebeard doesn't take any chances and just kills her porter anyway.
Oh man, I wanted to smack him upside the head.
Yeah, Bluebeard decides he can't have any. His idea was to kill him right away, and Bigby said no, we're not going to do that. And then Bluebeard kind of goes.
He is so all talk.
Does it anyway?
Well, you see that Bigby made him cry in one of the issues.
Yeah. He is all talk.
Bigby make me cry too. Come on.
Well,
that man's scary.
Yes.
That's why I love that character. It's my favorite character.
I am a little surprised that when he turns into the wolf, he is so big. So much larger than any other creature.
Well, he's the big bad wolf.
I know. I just didn't think of it quite in those terms that he'd be like a 12-foot long wolf.
I was surprised when you first see him too, because I figured it would just be like the Disney style wolf. It would just be a bigger like werewolf looking guy. But it is very cool that he did that, and I love because I never heard any background on the big bad wolf because they do reveal in here who his father is. Am I correct? He says
this issue. You mean?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Where do they do that? When he makes the diversion.
Right.
Yeah.
With the winds.
Yeah. He tells who his mother was and who his father was, and just learning who his father was kind of puts into perspective why he has the powers he does, why he has the powers of the wind. I'm not going to say just in case they don't exactly say who it was.
I don't think they say his name. They just say, I got this from my father's side.
Okay. So, but it's very cool. It's just a very cool effect.
During all that, Prince Charming's trying to destroy Bluebeard with his little Lilliputian spies, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah,
I love the whole thing with Prince Charming. Again, it's one of those things like, oh, he's Prince Charming, so of course no woman can resist him, and then he plays that to his advantage, and
Yeah. Now, in the first trade, there actually was a very nice prose, which actually leads into the Storybook Love. It was a prose piece, sort of back in the homelands, where Wolf comes across Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, and that's sort of where the seeds are planted for their romance. And so that's if you don't have the first trade, that's a good thing to have. That's not actually in the issues. A wolf in the fold, I think it's called. So that leads into because they actually reference that in the story, Storybook Love, where Bigby, met her way back when and couldn't get her smell out of his mind.
How fantastic that she drives him crazy like that.
That's why he smokes like a chimney.
I just figured because he was like a film noir type character.
And they actually gave it a purpose.
Yeah. Again, everything has a purpose. Every little bit, just when you think, you've seen it all. I mean, this last issue I just read, the one just came out. Just when you think you see it all, he just hits you with 2 or 3 things. You're like, fuck, I can't believe that he did that. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. And he does it every time in these books. It's just Bill Willingham. I tip my hat.
I want to ask you, it might have been in the first volume, but there was a diner where Snow was meeting Prince Charming. I think it's called I Am the Eggman Diner. Is that sort of a reference to... oh, now I'm drawing a complete blank.
The Beatles?
No. Well, no.
I don't know where you're going with that.
Oh, like Humpty Dumpty at all, or
it could be. It could easily be, Humpty's Diner, or because I can't remember if you see anybody in the diner, if he may have been behind as like the short order cook. That would be, I could see that. Or else would be fried eggs, couple fried eggs, some toast.
Mm-hmm. Now, the big reveal at the end of Storybook Love is that Snow is pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, by Bigby.
Yeah.
Now, if he would remember when he woke up, why wouldn't she? I'm a little fuzzy on that.
First of all, you want to backtrack a bit. Bluebeard. If I'm wrong, Jimmy, please stop. Bluebeard puts Snow White and Bigby under spell because he wants to get rid of them.
Right.
So he sends them on their way. Has Goldilocks
to Seattle.
Yeah, Goldilocks follow them to hunt them down and kill them. And of course, Goldilocks can't take a gun on the plane. So Bigby and Snow White have a head start. But of course, they have no idea what they wake up all of a sudden. Where the hell are we? We're in these camping things. While they were loopy or on their spell,
they did things.
Nature took its course.
That's right.
And your question is, why doesn't
Snow remember that when she wakes up when Bigby does?
Well, because of the smell, I think he mentions that. He doesn't tell her right away because he doesn't
want to get upset and stuff. Right.
I think he even says that. That's why he didn't tell her right away.
Yeah, but I just couldn't figure out why she. And it's more that he just scented it, not remembered it.
Well, between that and truth be told, Snow White is not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she's good at what she does. She's good at leading Fabletown, and she's popular. But when it came to the murder mystery, what was going on at the farm, and all of this, she is behind the 8-ball a lot of the time. You find there are a lot smarter princesses there. Sleeping Beauty, not so much she's smarter, but with her luck, which was one of the presents that the fairy godmothers gave her, she's been able to amass a fortune in the Mundy world. So I mean, and was it the first one where they all had the meeting where they were all talking about Prince Charming?
Yes,
with all the princesses. I mean, even there, she wasn't. She had stuff to talk about, but you kind of got the idea that she just wasn't the sharpest. She's just really good at putting the right people in the right places.
Yeah.
Without Bigby Wolf, she probably wouldn't be where she is, or as far along as she is in the world that she's in.
Okay.
But to me, that's the way I got it, especially after the second part where it was like sis, I saved you. I'm the Rose Red, who we actually at the end of Animal Farm is put in charge of the Animal Farm since Waylon Smith decided he didn't want to do it anymore since he kind of got himself caught and enchanted and all that kind of stuff. So they give it to Rose Red, and she was like, you find out she actually saved Snow White's life on many occasions because at the first night they were there, the pigs wanted to kill her.
Right. And she could see that, and Snow White was like,
yes, because she could see what was going on around her. Snow White lives in a world where the world revolves around her. Pardon me, as opposed to you being part of the world and seeing everything. So that's kind of what I think, and that's Bigby is also always one step ahead of everybody. But, that's a neat story that will play out beautifully in issues to come.
Yeah, if you said you haven't read anything, but you have them, but you haven't read past that. Oh yeah, I was just telling Jamie I have to go back and now I'm going to start reading because I'm about 6 months behind on the current run.
Okay,
good excuse to just start plowing through the rest of the issues.
Well, and I guess then we can talk about Bluebeard ends up getting slayed by Prince Charming.
Prince Charming starts his machinations on taking over Fabletown.
Mm-hmm. Which before
clever guy.
Before he says that, it seems like he's doing something really honorable and trying to win back a little bit of grace, and you find out he's just trying to be charming and sleazy anyway.
That son of a bitch.
Yeah.
He's just basically removing his competition.
Yeah.
He sees Bluebeard as his biggest competition. Plus, the fact that he finds out Bluebeard didn't have a will.
Yep.
So
all those riches.
He just basically all the riches go to Fabletown, and if he can somehow worm his way into being the head of Fabletown, guess who gets to have all the money?
Money.
Which Fabletown right now is the mayor of Fabletown is Old King Cole. So, That's it's another road bump that he's probably going to have to do something about later on. But it's just two stories I thought that were very neat, and as we said before with Shane asking about the Fables living, or are they able to live because we believe, and that's the whole thing at the end then with Goldilocks, who basically becomes this rag doll and winds up dying, or else we assume she's dead.
That was a huge sequence.
I'm still here. I can get anything you throw at me.
That was so good.
Well, I like Prince Charming's. What's that? Oh, just a dead body I'm carting around. He's carrying Bluebeard's body to dispose of it. No worries.
Plus, the design of those pages is just so cool.
I was just going to say that.
With everything in like the shield.
Yeah, Prince Charming's.
Yep, and the pages before that with the ivy and the leaves or whatever all in the background. I mean, that's where Buckingham really goes to town, is the whole design element. And look at the last page. Or, no, it's not the last page. Not quite the last page. But when they're getting on the plane, he has little icons of planes and all the plane airport things on the side. And then the panel layout is actually like an airplane.
Oh, that's it.
With the... I mean, that's just cool.
That is the one thing that he has been able to do. That even though, there have been a lot of other guest artists in here, but as soon as you pick up one that Buckingham has done,
you
can
immediately
tell it, because like the first page, it'll be the layout will just has something to it. He just goes to town. He puts in that it's like you're picking up an old book, an old fable book, that was done by monks and has the beautiful calligraphy and all the gilded pages and all the the background beautiful designs and all that kind of stuff.
See, I was so focused on all those little airplanes and the little non-smoking symbols, I didn't get that it was a plane until Brian just said, I'm like, duh, of course. Who's the sharpest tack in the bunch? Is that what? Yeah, right.
You are the sharpest knife in the drawer.
But yeah, the end of the story just goes on for a couple other trades. So
well, and that's great having snowflakes around, not only for being Snow White, but how cold and angry she is at Big B.
Yeah, it was neat actually to watch that romance bloom, because you really, at the end of the Animal Farm storyline, you had where she got shot because Goldilocks basically blows her head off at once she's taken back over the farm. Yeah. She blows her head off. So, like I said, there's how do you get back, and then basically it takes another year in the span of like one issue. They go through a year of her recovering, and you realize that Big B is at her side all the time. He's
hovering.
Yeah, he stays by her all the time through all of her convalescing. You see the war trials up at the farm. You see, and he throws that into the war trials. Who was on what side? What punishment they get if they're exonerated because they helped? If the fox gets exonerated because he helped, and all that kind of stuff. And then you see that bloom, and then to have them do what they did, and then you could have always done the whole we slept together. Did we sleep together? I don't know. And he didn't choose to go that way. He chose to go, yeah, you slept together, and this is what's going to happen because she's knocked up, and you're going to have to deal with it. And I just thought that was a great choice because he could have easily done, gone the other way and just this is something we will never talk about again, and just something between the two of them. And no, it's like real life. It's like, you do this kind of stuff and it happens, and all of a sudden you're a dad and a mom, and oops, we're going to have to deal with that somewhere down the road. Now you don't deal with it here, but the repercussions are coming.
Pants' 3 kids know about that.
Damn straight.
And at this point, anyway, to my knowledge, since of course
Oddly
I
enough,
read
they're
it
all in Honduras. I don't understand.
They can't even get angry at Bluebeard because he's gone. So
yeah, they won't get Big B won't get his revenge, which for him that would be, he would love to come back because he knows who did it. There's and so yeah.
But
Great
now,
stuff.
when they get back, they don't confront Jack, which that whole enchantment that they were under was Jack's to blame for everything.
No, I think I thought Bigby didn't know who it was. Bigby thought it smelled of Jack, but it was more. Once he comes back, he'll
finds out.
Yeah, basically he'll find out who it was.
Oh, as a result of Prince Charming finding all the hidey holes that Bluebeard had in his place.
Yeah, it'll be, and I can't even speak to it because I don't remember exactly how they wrapped that up. But yeah, just one of those, since he had just had that big to do with Jack, and telling him, well, he's not going to be able to figure out how to make money off of this.
Yeah.
That was just in his craw. He's like, oh, that's why I did it, because I told Jack he couldn't do this, not really seeing it for Bluebeard, and he wasn't that far ahead.
Right.
And there was still one more single done in one in the...
Yes, about how there were females in the Little People and the Lilliputians.
The
That was kinda
Linda
cute.
Medley illustrated of Castle Waiting.
Yes, beautifully illustrated.
Yeah, I hadn't remembered this fable. But the
Barleycorn.
Yeah, barleycorn.
The Lilliputians trying to steal barleycorn is...
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that.
The stories... It's basically the story how if... They tell a story about how the Lilliputians got there and there were only men. And what was it, Flycatcher that asks, well, if there were only men, how do they get... Well, actually, somebody tries to steal one of these barleycorns out of like, they have like a shelf of all magical items, and they ask, well, why are they doing it? And the story is that the Lilliputians, when they got out of Fabletown, only a certain number of them got out, and they were all men, and to do it, to get women, they found out there was a spell if they planted these barleycorns, they would grow up and a beautiful woman would come out of it. So 2 of them went off to get the corns. They finally came back. They did it. All the women popped up, and then they could continue on with the race. And I guess Thumbelina came to the town at one time, and she was the only girl, kind of like Smurfette in the middle of all the Smurfs. And except that they were looking to get a little something off of as opposed to the asexual Smurfs who didn't seem to really care about Smurfette.
Now, what about this Mustard Pot Pete?
I was just reading
they got to be stealing that, right, from Paste Pot Pete. I mean,
they might, or there might have been. I don't. I would have to go in and maybe punch in Mustard Pot Pete and see if there was a fable about him.
I feel like I need to go to the library or bookstore and get a book on fables and at least look at the titles of these things.
I did. I wound up getting a book on fables just because of this, just to read some, and then I always look at used bookstores and places for like fables from other countries to try to catch up on those. Because you're right, when I was reading some of these, I've maybe heard of them, but I don't know that much about them. And as you go, and you're going to get more. There are more. There'll be they'll delve more into fables from other countries. There's a whole storyline about the fables from other countries.
There's the whole Arabian Nights trade.
So I mean, it's just he does some amazing stuff.
And wait till you find out who the adversary is.
Well, I know Jamie teased about that last time for the Book of the Month, Volume 1.
So you still don't know who the adversary
No.
is? Wow, okay.
See, it's kind of like Harry Potter. There are things about Harry Potter, even though the books are all out and done and have you read them? I know Brian's read them. I'm still on book 3 and 4, so I haven't even read, and I don't know anything about a lot of what happens for them. And somehow I've avoided all of this as well, and I'm happy to stay that way.
Cool.
Oh, I'm not gonna.
No.
I would never do that.
Not saying any of you would. I'm just in the world.
I say,
God bless you if you don't know it.
I am loving watching you guys do this and being able to eventually talk to you about each of these volumes as we hit them. It's always fun for me to find somebody who's caught up with all of them, and I can say, "Oh my God, what about so and so?" And yeah, oh my God, do you believe they did that? No, I can't believe that.
Well, and especially in volume 2 because they were dealing with the homelands, but they didn't mention the adversaries much. But in volume 3, I felt like they mentioned literally the adversary every couple pages.
It's going to start to get start to get more and more important. March of the Wooden Soldiers, it's very important because it's going to start being the fact that the adversary is going to start trying to push his influence into our world again. And so
that's an awesome volume. That's number 4, right?
I believe so.
Oh, that's next.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah, go home and read it tonight, Shane.
I can't. I have to read Flash.
What are you pointing at me for?
That's not nearly as important as reading this. There's no Mark Buckingham artwork in the Flash.
I know.
Wally West ran fast. The end. Thank you very much.
Barry Allen came back. Done.
So, yeah, this just a great story. I mean, it's just like I said. This picked it up and put it down every issue. This is for a while there. I did let a bunch go by, about a year's worth, but that was possibly the most fun I had in like 3 days. I just sat down and it would be like, I'm done with this one, boom, next one, done with this one, boom, next one. 2-3 hours would go by, and by the time I got done, I was like, shit, I still have 2 more to go for this storyline. I gotta know what's happening.
I have to say, I'm very happy reading these in trade volumes all at one shot.
Hell yeah.
Now, are you have any plans to go see the Fables panel out in San Diego?
If they have one.
Well, I believe they've had one the last couple of years, and at the end of, I think, definitely last year, maybe the one before, they would have like a goodie for people who came to the panel.
Okay.
Like last year, I believe they had a one sheet of a story, a single page story that was only going to be given to people who came to that panel.
Okay. Well, I did not know that. I will definitely.
So yeah, the year before that, Rose Red rubbed everybody's taint. That was great.
That'd be nice.
No, the year before that, they had some sort of special 50th issue signing or something along those lines. But don't go for the goodies. I mean, but it's just a great. I hear good things. I didn't go to last year, but it's a great panel to go to
during that 50th issue signing. Rose Red.
Yes, I definitely would like to. I mean, I got a chance to meet Bill at Baltimore 2 years ago.
You have a sketch of his, right?
Yes, I got a Detective Chimp sketch, since he was writing Shadow Pact at that time. But yeah, I got a chance. I got a chance to do what I tell everybody to do, is just to thank him. Just thank him so much for this series. I'd actually met him the first time like 3 or 4 years ago when Fables was first coming out at Wizard World Philly. He used to go to Wizard World Philly all the time, and he was at the DC booth, and Fables had just maybe hit issue 6.
Wow.
And I got a chance. He was just signing some stuff, and nobody was there. I just walked right up to him, and I said, I loved your Elementals, and thank you for Fables. It's a great story. I've been trying to get people to read it. He thanked me. I got it. Like I said, he signed a thing, and I went on my way. But he's a great writer. I mean, if you like this stuff, I can't stress enough, seeking out the Elemental storyline, that all those that he did was just some great superhero stuff. He did one called, and I'm drawing a total blank on it. It was like right before he started Fables, another superhero for another company. And Brian and I bought the first one. I haven't read it, but Brian said Shadow Pact was a good series.
Yeah, the beginning of the first, until he left the book or whatever, it was just great.
Okay. I've read the first half dozen of Shadow Pact, and I have them all, but that's one of the things that I'm behind on. But what I read of it, I loved it.
I brought the trade, and I just have never gotten a chance to sit down and read it. But
me getting that is a direct result of reading the first volume of Fables.
Yeah. Plus, Bill has the Jack of Fables.
Yeah, Jack of Fables.
Fables series. If you like Jack, I never got into that character. I never liked him, and then there's going to be another one coming up where there's a whole 6-issue arc with him in it. And
I love it.
That was tough to get through for me.
For me, it's a second dose of Fables, especially the second trade of Jack of Fables. There was way more than just Jack. I mean, it was an entire, just as many Fables in that as in this, and I don't call it Jack of Fables, just call it Fables 2.
Okay.
Just because it's just a whole nother Fables book.
People keep telling me to do it, and I just haven't gotten around to doing it. But maybe
I have the issues. I read the first storyline. Haven't gotten any further than that since.
In my head, I hear Will and Grace, just Jack, 2008, or whatever it was when that character was on.
But yeah, so hopefully we'll visit future volumes of Fables.
Yeah, I
especially
definitely
because Shane hasn't read them yet.
Definitely want to keep going with this.
Yeah.
And I just want to reiterate that there are good comics and then there are good comics. And for me, this is one of the greatest comics ever. I don't care if it's not superheroes. I don't care what the subject matter is. It's just good comics. It's a perfect example of what can be done with the art form, creativity, and again, the Mark Buckingham's use of panel layout and all that stuff is really, stretching the envelope of what can be done. And it's just so good. You just devour them. I mean, we talk about how, you read 10 issues in a row and we plow through a trade like there's no tomorrow. How many other comics, seriously, how many other comics, period, no matter what kind they are, who's doing them, how many other comics do you sit down and just completely rip through that many issues and be that excited and enthralled about it?
And satisfied at the end of it.
Right. I mean, there are some, but there are not a ton. And this is clearly one of the cream of the crop right now.
Yeah, I can think of 3 that I used to do that. I would do that for, or could do that for. It's this, Strangers in Paradise, and Bone. Those are the 3 that I could sit down and I can easily read a whole bunch at one time and not get tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, once in a while, some like I just read the second hardcover of the Captain America, Death of Captain America stuff, and when they launched the new costume and all that stuff, and that was very enjoyable, and I read it like pretty much in one sitting, and it was very good. So it does happen, but it still wasn't as good as this. It just didn't have that feeling in my gut when I was done, just wasn't the same, and my burning desire for the next trade. I mean, every time I've read a Fables trade, if I had the next one right there, I wouldn't have gone to sleep. I would have just kept reading. But with Captain America, I would have put it down and waited a couple weeks till I read the next volume because I would have wanted to sprinkle something else in. And that's the difference, right? You just,
When that's how I've been with JSA more consistently than JLA. Since that started way back when, right into the new series, that is fantastic every time. I get more satisfaction out of that than JLA right now. So I guess I kind of understand what you're saying about that.
Yeah, it's just a difference in the way that you're left feeling, and I don't exactly know how to express it. I just know that it's honest to God, good comics. And if you listen to all this and you've never read it, man, please try it. Just you owe yourself as a comics fan to discover how fantastic this is. And believe me, I resisted for the longest time because I just thought it sounded stupid. I mean, this third volume is Storybook Love. Oh, it sounds so lame, and but it's anything but lame. I just think that the marketing might be off on this book a little bit, but the word of mouth is so strong that it's not going anywhere anytime
Don't
soon.
forget their 75th issue was just recently solicited, and again, big changes.
Well, and at least we're not fans of the cover up, but at least it's consistent, which is something more than most books have. Also,
well, again, it's good art.
Absolutely.
I just don't know that it's paired. Some people think I'm crazy for saying that, and that's fine. I don't know. For me, I mean, it doesn't stand out as much for me anymore because now I'm such a huge fan of the book. I don't care. There could just be a blank cover that says Fables issue 17, and it would be okay. That's fine. I don't care. So I've gotten over that. But before I was a fan, I looked at those covers in the store and went, I don't want to read that. Yeah. Look at that.
It never drew me in to pick it up.
No, I never even picked it up off the shelf to even browse through it because I had zero interest in the title and the covers.
If we wouldn't have done the first one, I probably would have never read it.
No.
Not as like I have anyway.
So that was Fables. I'm sure that we'll be back. I don't know what our next encore is going to be. We haven't even talked about it yet, so we'll revisit something we've already read. The next book of the month is Flash, The Return of Barry Allen. That's Pants's Geek Choice. And then the month after that is DC month. So in July, we're going to be doing Authority, Volume 1, Relentless. Both of those are 47% off at InStockTrades.com. And you can always get our Book of the Month Club selections at InStockTrades.com for a hefty discount. And 40% off is pretty damn good, if I do say so myself. So, anything else we need to say before we skedaddle?
Read it. Read it.
Yeah.
That's Shane saying that. It's not me. That's Shane.
All right. Well then, That's the end. This episode was sponsored by Ape Entertainment. In this month's previews, it's Femme Noir, The Dark City Diaries, number 3, by Christopher Mills and Joe Staton. It's an awesome book. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. Alternate covers by Phil Hester, which is always cool. It's a 4-issue limited series from Ape Entertainment. For more information, you can go to apecomics.com or comicspace.com/apeentertainment, where they actually have a podcast where they interviewed the creators Christopher Mills and Joe Staton, so you should be able to listen to that on their website. And, yeah. So, if you want to send us an email, it's comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. Visit our website at comicgeekspeak.com. To leave us a voicemail, the number is 215-279-8839. And to be part of the greatest community of comic fans ever, go to thecomicforums.com. You can also find our recent episodes on worldfamouscomics.com, as well as the latest in comics news, reviews, columns, contests, and more. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.